Hello everyone, I'm Rob Smith of the In the Black VTF here at T3 Live with today's market wrap-up. And as you can see here, not a big day for the SPY, and we haven't had any. I talked about that this morning. I talked about Doji, and almost a Doji, but we did make a slight higher high. But you can see this tight range that we're still in, albeit trying to hold this lower level. If we take a look at the 60-minute, I talked about this here, the big gap down, the sideways broadening formation, and then how we're going to get out of this and resolve gap down. So now we've got the same situation here. How do we get out of this? We go inside 60. Do we gap down again? Do we move out of here? And can we stay out? So if we start coming back up, I'll be looking at a trend line right around here, right around 195, or if we can have a move up there. Otherwise, we get the gapper and see how that goes. But what did I talk about this morning? I said, how are we going to do this if we know it's going to be somewhat slow? And what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at the gappers, and we looked at HRTX. Gaps up, ending up being a doji. So right on the opening, it was like, well, here it goes, doji 15er, and takes down a little bit, but for the most part doing nothing. So no real good plays in there. If we had, I talked about BMR, and BMR, you've heard me talk about a reversal strategy, and that's when I look for an inside bar that goes down and then comes back up and closes and opens and closes within that range after not taking out this bar especially. And then we could have a nice buy up in here, little trickier. And then if you look at CTXS, I talked about that. You can see it opening, screaming down, coming back, but going inside 15 and having a nice move out of there. Not real clean stuff there, but a few things to keep an eye on. The second thing I said we're going to watch is stuff that we know is discernibly stronger than the overall market, and that's going to be Buffalo Wild Wings. Buffalo Wild Wings does go out inside day on right to the new all-time highs, I believe. Did it take this out? 205.62. Yes, it did. New all-time highs, and I talked about LB here, and that's still stuck in a range, and that's still in play to keep an eye on how do we get out of this range. Any of this market weakness certainly hasn't affected it, so if we get the market to strengthen, we'll see how that goes. The next thing I talked about, looking for a catalyst, and that was going to be Crude Oil. And Crude Oil had their number come out today at 11:30 Eastern, and you can see this here on the 15-minute chart was really nice. So it came out and initially goes running up here and then goes inside 15. And the reasons that's important is one of the things I've talked about is knowing when something's still inside on a longer term time frame, we can expect reversals. And it is still inside the month. And if you look at the weekly, you can see this bar here, and I'll blow that up so you can see it. Still completely within this week's range. 1, 2, 3 weeks, still completely in that range. So, and presently inside last week's range as well. So we know that's tight. We know to look for a reversal. We get it off the inside 15 here, and a very nice move to the downside. Where at that time we can go after the usual suspects or things that we know have actionable signals to the downside, and that would be inside weakened down. Here you can see LNG. I can blow that up a little bit better. See this LNG, you can go after Murphy Oils inside weakened down, and then more usual suspects that are weak. Weekly shooting star there. It's a reversal strat here for EOG, as you can see that inside countered with the shooting star down. APA has just been a momentum shooter here into the low, so there's a lot of things we can go after there. Third thing I talked about was looking at IBB. After the big move down, shooting star and down, and tries to hammer and doesn't do much on the daily. But once it had a nice move off the opening, a lot of people are like, IBB's going to recover. Nice move, nice move. And then once it starts to fail here was more important because this weekly shooting star, the weekly signal, we want that to come back in. So as it goes back red on the daily or gets close to it, you could look for stuff that was still distressed, like blue here. Blue was still going towards the lows, and I believe there's a nice 60 there, maybe late in the day. The reversal strat. There's a 60 down here, but stuff like that. Another thing I talked about, last thing I talked about was looking for discernible strength and weakness during the day. And so we could notice the cyber was acting better than most. Here, as it is reversal strat weekly to the upside, and so as the market started to back off, as we start to look for the 15ers that are doing this up, sideways, measured move, and the market was near its lows during this period. Costco as well started to walk up, and even at the market at its lows, still continued higher. So we get some of that, as well as looking for discernible weakness, and that's certainly in the ag sector. If you go to Mosaic You can see how distressed they are. And just Mosaic and Wynn Resorts still having all sorts of problems. So just always having a list of those things that are outperforming and underperforming as the S&P vacillates back and forth in a tight range, be it like this on a 15. And go back a little bit here. So as we expected, down, up, and so any of these types of turns, we can start looking for the weak ones here. We can start looking for the strong ones here, the weak ones here, the strong ones here, the weak ones here, and so forth. And oftentimes they don't come anywhere near to doing what the overall broader averages are doing. So for tomorrow, like I said, we're looking at this SPY here to go to see how we're going to break out of this inside 60. In here, not inside 60, inside 60, but this range here. Do we go gap down? We gap down. Can we gap down again, or how do we get out of this range here? Watching these, both of this stuff, and some lines here about 192.50 and 195er, and so some discernible inside days we'll be watching for tomorrow. Going to look like this. We're going to look at, we got some nice ones in the tech. You got Facebook as an inside day. You got Netflix as an inside day. You've got GoPro. Real interesting here is GoPro tried to go inside week and down, but now it's inside day down here to see if this slight lower low holds and go up. Inside day measured move and make a good move, or does it roll back down? If we go to Tesla, inside day for Tesla, so a double consolidation there to see what we can get out of there. Amazon. Here, an inside day, and you see this triangle, it bumped its Nugan right there, and now we can see either that inside day takes another shot at it or rolls back into the triangle. You've got Corvo in the semis here, has been discernibly weak, and so certainly this would be on the hit list if things start to tank. If we go back to that energy move, Exxon was able to hold on to an inside day, so we'll see how that acts tomorrow as well as Halliburton. And conversely, with the energy, we're going to watch the inside days for Southwest Air and Alaska Air. With the IBB stuff, GILD holds on to an inside day, so we'll certainly pay attention to that. And XON here, another one of those bios that can go, and AGU, we'll see, is going to join that inside day, believe it or not, but watching that ag weakness and see if that continues. But other than that, tight range, waiting for this inside month in the SPY to close and watching that 60 on the opening, and certainly any news that may come out, stuff like that during the day, and of course the morning gappers. So that's going to do it for today. All right, hope everybody had a good day, and if not, didn't get chewed up too bad and didn't get bored, and if not, learned a few things out of the vids. All right, have a good night. I'm Rob Smith in the Black VTF here at T3 Live with today's market wrap-up.